gun emplacements capable of firing on the bridges were Cupola 120 and Cupola Nord. But Cupola 120 was the target for number 2 section, whose glider had been cast off too early and had landed in Germany. By chance, its ammunition elevators were defective, and there were problems with the guns, so they could not fire. At Cupola Nord, the gun crew had seen the gliders land, but they had none of the special canister rounds needed to engage troops on top of the fortress. Within moments, the infantry exit doors of Cupola Nord was attacked by the Germans with a hollow charge weapon. A violent explosion demolished the armored door, killing and wounding several Belgian soldiers. More explosions followed, and Cupola Nord was put out of action. The anti-aircraft guns had been overrun and their crews captured. The only other heavy infantry weapons capable of firing on troops in the open on top of Fort Eben Emael were the multiple machine guns of Mi Nord and Mi Sud. The men tasked with capturing Mi Sud had landed in a barbed wire entanglement, but the paratroopers managed to attack the casemate with great ferocity using flamethrowers and hollow charge weapons. But Mi Sud was empty. Its gun crews were stranded at Block 1, where they had been clearing the administrative offices. Mi Sud, one of the vital positions for the defense of the fortress, wasn't even manned during the attack. The situation at Mi Nord wasn't any better. The position was undermanned when it was assaulted by number 4 section under the command of Sergeant Helmut Wenzel. In quick succession, Wenzel and his men laid charges that demolished the observation dome and the machine guns of Mi Nord. The Belgian defenders did not fire a single shot from their multiple machine gun. No rounds had been unpacked from the ammunition boxes. A simple oversight. Wenzel's men then detonated a hollow charge beside one of the embrasures, which blew a large hole in the casemate wall. Wenzel and his men then climbed inside Mi Nord, which became the German command center, but the Group Granit commander, Lieutenant Witzig, was nowhere to be found. The German paratroopers were so highly trained that they were able to operate effectively without his leadership. As the senior non-commissioned officer, Sergeant Wenzel assumed command of Group Granit. Within the first 20 minutes of the assault, the main Belgian gun emplacements that posed a threat to the Albert Canal bridges had been destroyed or silenced. Group Granit had succeeded. The greatest fortress in the world had been neutralized by just 71 men using a revolutionary new weapon, the hollow charge. Though the Germans successfully attacked Fort Eben Emael, their triumph would be short-lived if the actual bridges were not captured. As the German gliders swooped down to land, a vigilant Belgian soldier manning an observation post at Kana detonated the demolition charges and the bridge collapsed into the canal. Group Concrete at Stroonhofen and Group Steel at Zelvitzelt had more success, and both bridges were captured intact. The 2 bridgeheads over the Albert Canal were soon reinforced by paratroopers who were dropped 40 minutes after the glider landings. Sturmabteilung Koch had achieved a remarkable success at a cost of just 42 dead. Most were lost during the abortive attack at Kana. At 06:30, a DFS-230 landed on top of the fortress of Eben Emael. Lieutenant Witzig stepped out and resumed command of Group Granit. After his forced landing in Germany, he had commandeered another Ju-52 to tow his downed glider skywards and on to Eben Emael. He could not have arrived at a better moment, as Sergeant Wenzel had been wounded by a rifle bullet to the head. Cupola 120 was still turning, but the Germans did not know that its guns were out of action. Witzig ordered another attack. The paratroopers rushed the position and attached a 110-pound hollow charge weapon above the left-hand 120mm gun. At 06:45, the charge exploded but did not penetrate the thick armor. Seeing that the cupola no longer turned, the Germans abandoned the attack. At the same time, an assault was mounted on Block 2 overlooking the anti-tank ditch to the northwest. A later reconstruction filmed for propaganda purposes showed how the casemates were attacked and the power of the hollow charge weapons. By now, the assault pioneers of Group Granit were running low on ammunition and desperately short of water. Further supplies were flown in, and the paratroopers gratefully quenched their thirst. But Private Schmidt had filled his water bottle with schnapps and was now drunk and sitting astride a gun of Cupola 120 as it revolved once more after the Belgian defenders had repaired it around 0800. The Germans then disabled the cupola by placing explosive charges down the muzzle of the guns. The only gun emplacement on the roof of Fort Eben Emael that was still operational was Cupola Sud. From 10:30 onwards, it fired on targets to the south of Eben Emael as directed by the observation post Block 01. German attempts to silence the position failed, despite exploding a 110-pound charge on its armored dome. During the day, Cupola Sud fired on the town of Uisden in Holland, where German troops were amassing. It also destroyed the bridge at Lanai across the Meuse River. Eben Emael had been specifically designed for these tasks, but it was too late to stem the German advance. German engineers were now building several pontoon bridges across the River Meuse to replace those that had been destroyed. Even so, the German invasion plans had been delayed by at least 24 hours. Sturmabteilung Koch was still on its own. As the day progressed, the Belgian defenders of Fort Eben Emael mounted a few limited counterattacks, but they were half-hearted and ineffective. Stuka dive bombers were ordered to attack those gun emplacements that had not been captured. Both Block 1 and Cupola Sud came under repeated attack, as did the fortress reinforcements from Vank, who were so harried and delayed that when they arrived, they were unfit for combat. Other fortresses around Liège began directing artillery fire to the roof of Fort Eben Emael to dislodge the German paratroopers. Over 1,200 shells landed on the fort and wounded several Germans who took shelter in the captured gun emplacements. After dark, the German paratroopers disabled more of the guns with their remaining charges. Fearing further Belgian counterattacks during the night, some of the paratroopers warily descended the staircase into Maastricht 1. There they found the bolted and barred armored doors. They retraced their steps back to the surface and returned with a 110-pound hollow charge which they attached to the steel beam barrier.